Shabbat Shalom, it's May 1st, Parashat Acharei Mot, Kodashim. In the Jewish tradition, we're in the midst of spring. I'm sitting outside in this glorious day. Again, really amazed at how beautiful my own micro world is compared to all of the trouble that are going on in the macro world. Today I want to share with you a story from Eastern Europe. There was a rabbi who once met a tightrope walker from a circus, and he said to the tightrope walker, "What is the secret of your art? What does one need to master in order to do that which you do? Is it balance? Is it stamina? Is it concentration?" The tightrope walker's answer surprised the rabbi greatly. "The secret is always keeping your destination in focus," he said. "You know, you have to keep your eyes on the other end of the rope and how you get there is a straight line, never wavering. But you know what the hardest part is?" said the tightrope walker to the rabbi. And the rabbi answered, "I would suppose that it is when you get in the middle." The tightrope walker answered and said, "No, that's not the greatest difficulty. The greatest difficulty in being a tightrope walker is when you make the turn, because for one fraction of a second, you lose sight of your destination. When you don't have your destination in sight, that is the time that you have the greatest opportunity or the greatest chance of falling." So as we enter this Shabbat, in the midst of this global pandemic, this global crisis, I want us all to think about, well, what is the end in sight? What is it that we have to keep focused on? We have to keep focused on in order not to fall off the tightrope of our lives. It's not an easy question. Certainly, as a world community, we need to focus on trying to find a solution. Earlier this week, I heard a very fine doctor tell us that the chances of a vaccine are not great, but the chances of finding a medicine to lessen the consequences of the virus are significant. So as a world, we need to keep our eyes on how to find a solution to this problem. But as individuals and as a community, I think we need to keep our focus on a variety of things. We need to keep our focus on maintaining some sort of connection despite the physical distancing that we're doing. We need to keep our focus on making our community stronger in any way that we can. We need to keep our focus on reaching out to one another, picking up the telephone, calling one another, calling relatives, having Zoom calls, not letting the difficulties we face get to us. So I say that, and as I approach this Shabbat's Torah portion, because in Leviticus 19 of the Torah portion, we read the very famous words, "V'ahavta l're'echa kamoka," you shall love your neighbor as yourself. It seems to me that at this time of a global pandemic, that no line from the Torah, no line from Scripture has more meaning than the need to love one another, to love our neighbor as ourselves. But the rabbis also point out that the sentence says you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, if you're not happy with yourself, if you're not respectful of yourself, then you cannot transfer that love to someone else. So on this Shabbat, I hope that we will remember two things. One is to keep our eyes on our destination, no matter how or in what way we define it. And the second thing I would say that is very important, on this Shabbat, don't forget to love yourself a little bit. Go easier. Be less gevuridik. Be less critical of yourself. Because if you do so, you will find that you will have enough love left over to love someone else. So on behalf of all of us in my family, in the Temple Emmanuel community, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom, a Shabbat of health and joy and peace. Shabbat Shalom.